All right. Hello, ELED 459 friends. We are going to talk observing in your field experience today. So what I need you to do before we begin is to open up two documents on D2L. First, the observation protocol document, and second, the the learning impact statement document. So I'm going to quick screen share with you so I can show you what those documents are on D2L. If you could hold on just a second. So if you go into D2L, what you'll see in our class under week 6 are several different documents that you'll need. This is the Learning Impact Statements document. This is the Practice Observation Protocol document. So I have already opened them up. This is what the Practice Observation Protocol document looks like. When you're observing, you'll enter your name, the date, what you're observing, and then you're going to be recording as you observe teacher moves, student moves, and then after you observe, so after you've recorded this, you'll document the impact on learning and then summarize your observation. So that's that document. So to fill out the impact on learning, I've created this impact on learning statements that you can use. You're definitely not limited to these statements for that column. However, it gives you some starting points to think, why did the teachers and students do what they do learning? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull up our PowerPoint for today. And our learning targets for today are you're going to understand how to use that observation protocol and impact for learning document that I just showed you. And you are going to use them while you observe a reading conference video that I have found for us that shows us a quality reading conference, which is one of the skills that you are going to practice when you are in your field experience. It's hosting reading conferences with students. Now, before we begin, if you have heard back from your field experience teacher, if you could take a second to let me know when you will be going to your field experience or what you're starting to think or figure out. This is just a Google form. You put your first name, your last name, the day of the week, that time block that you're devoting for ELED 459, and if you intend for this to be your regular schedule. So just take a quick second to do that for me. All right, so I would recommend pausing the video while you go in and do that so you don't forget. And then the video that we're going to watch is this video right here. It is a Vimeo video. We'll watch some of it so I can model for you how to use the observation protocol document on this video, but then you'll have to go in and watch the remainder of the video on your own. If you simply click on the link, it will take you there. So here is our reading conference video that we are going to watch right there. And like I said, we'll watch a little bit together, but then I'm going to have you go back and re-watch it so that you can complete the practice assignment. So let's just go ahead and take a second to watch the introduction of this reading.
In this conference, Enid teaches Michaela that she can gain a deeper understanding of the story by paying closer attention to details in the text. In particular, the details in the illustrations, rather than just the words. This work is helping Michaela move toward considering the relationship of the illustrations to the story, the work expected in kindergarten by Standard 7. Enid's also moving Michaela to take steps toward using details in the illustrations to describe characters, setting, and events, which is work expected of first graders in reading literature. Later, Enid can draw upon this work to teach into foundational skills, reminding Michaela to confirm the words she reads on the page with what's happening in the illustrations to see if these make sense. What's also important to notice about this conference is the intent research that Enid does. You'll see her researching multiple ways to start, and then after she and Michaela have talked a bit, she researches again by having Michaela read and watching her. And here Enid is confirming her hunches before she dives into teaching. I also want you to notice how Enid stays with Michaela at the end. She gives Michaela a bit more time to practice in front of her, guiding her until it seems Michaela is taking on more of the work. Next steps would be to encourage Michaela to add this strategy to a repertoire of strategies for thinking more deeply about the text she is reading.
So I'm going to pause that for just a second, and I want to talk about filling out that observation protocol document, just the first part. So how I would fill this out, my name, obviously, is Katie. Today's date, which you would insert whatever day you're observing. Today is 2/19. And what I am observing is a reading conference with, I'm assuming, a first grade student. The focus, the purpose of the observation is in-class practice, but it's also to learn about how to host a reading conference with students. The focus is on helping the student understand the story by using pictures and paying attention to details, from what I heard the host of the video say. So that just kind of sums up what we're watching. So now as we watch the teacher, we're going to note just in this time the teacher moves and what the student does in response, or the student moves during this reading conference or lesson. So let's pull back the video again. Let's see. Oops, that's not the video. Where did my video go? That was probably over here. Sorry. All right.
As parents had left him a note. Dear George, it said, when you wake up, please make your bed. Can I stop you, Miss Kels?
So I'm just going to pause that real quick, just because I want to note something on my observation protocol. Now, the great thing with doing it with the video is you can pause the video as often as you need to record this information. Obviously, you can't pause a live class. However, what I would recommend when you're doing this in your classroom is not to have your computer. I would actually recommend that you have a notebook or something and you make a T-chart that says teacher moves, student moves, and you just jot that down as you're watching so you could be much more efficient. So with this, the student was reading a book. The teacher was listening carefully to the student read about a page, and then the teacher stopped the student. So notice that I am just noting what the teacher's doing, what the student's doing. This is what happened first simultaneously, and then the teacher stopped the student. So let's go ahead and go back into our video.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you're reading today? George Shrinks. So, is this the first time you're reading this book? No, I read it a long time. Oh, okay. So can you tell me a little bit about what's happening? Because in a book, in George Shrinks, George does everything. He does everything, and his parents had left him a note, and the book is his parents are bigger than him. Wait, can I?
So I'm going to pause that again. The teacher stopped the student, and the teacher asked, can you tell me about what you are reading, and have you read this book before? So the student, in response to that, the student answered that she had read the book a long time ago, and it was about that it was about a kid who woke up and his parents had left him a note of things to do. All right, let's go ahead and watch the video again. Always go to the wrong file. There we go.
See this book with you? Oh my gosh.
Brush your teeth and take a bath.
Oh, so why did he do these things?
Because his parents had left him a note to do it.
Oh, so like his parents left him a note to like get all these things done?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. And so like then what happens in the story?
He does everything that his parents says, and when his parents come back, they look at him with a smiley face. And then at the end it says, "Love, Mom and Dad."
Oh, okay. So have you read, so this is like, you've been reading this book, right? And now he's in the middle of like doing all this stuff that his parents
had left. This is the note.
Okay. Okay. So can you read a little bit to me?
Brush your teeth and take a bath.
Okay, so I'm going to pause again. So, student really finished her retell of the story, and then the teacher was looking at the book with a student. The teacher asked questions and then asked the student to read a bit. So then the student began reading for the teacher. And this is essentially where we're going to stop watching the video, and I'm going to ask you to rewatch or continue to watch from this point on, but I just wanted to show you how I would go about recording this. So now that we have watched the video for a bit, I want to pull up the learning impact statements. So we need to figure out, what was this teacher doing? So first of all, and why was she doing that, and how did it help the student? I see several things going on in here. First of all, I see that the student that she's working with is actively engaged in learning. As the teacher is working with her, though, I really think the main purpose of that work is that she's assessing the student's learning or measuring what the student knows. So teacher is assessing student learning and measuring both her reading ability, but mostly her comprehension of the story. Then what you're going to see next is that teacher is essentially formulating what that student needs, and she's giving quality oral feedback to the student, and she is then going to use that feedback to adjust her conference plan. And she's adjusting her instruction or her conference based on what she is learning about the student. So you can see that I took what I saw here, and I'm trying to figure out, based on some of these choices, how is that impacting the student's learning? Why is the teacher doing what she's doing? How is it impacting her learning? So we can see within this conference, there is many things that are going on that would be conducive or useful to students' learning, or would imply that they're effective in helping that student learn. So that's essentially how you fill out that observation protocol document. And like I said, you're going to do that on your own. and also how to use those learning impact statements. So essentially what your job is to do next is to practice. So finish watching the video on your own, pause as much as you need, note in your practice observation protocol document what you see the teacher doing, the student doing. After you finish watching the whole video, go back and fill out the learning impact statements. And then your final job is to summarize your learning. So what do you need to include in your summary? It's not really a repeat of what you put in the observation protocol, although you're going to refer back to that. But there are 4 big things that I want you to answer. So I want you to tell me, first of all, what was the objective or learning target that was being met in this lesson? Then you're going to, that's when you're going to go back and refer to some of those things that you noticed, but you're going to kind of shrink them down, put them in your own words, make them more concise. So the standard was met by, you're going to fill that in. What was the teacher and student doing? And then from there, you're going to say this was a learning impact, or this is what the teacher did to help the student learn, and then how might you apply what you saw in your future classroom. So I'm just going to start my summary a little bit. So the first thing that I need to decide, the purpose of this lesson was to, and it really I guess is more of a conference, help the student with comprehension strategies. Now I'm going to go into the disaggregated standard website, the DOE disaggregated standards for Common Core, and I'm going to figure out what standard was this teacher using. So I opened up first grade because I'm assuming that it's a first grade student, just based on what the lady said at the very beginning. And then I can skim and scan through these standards and see what she was trying to meet. So first of all, she was going to have the student retell the stories, including key details, right? That's what she started out doing. But as you continue through, you're also going to see that the teacher was, did I miss it here? So I didn't. Was helping the student use illustrations and details in the story to describe his character, setting, or events. So she was really working on 2 standards and 2 strategies. So what I am going to do is I am going to put that in my summary. She was working on the standards that include retelling, which it and also using images and details to describe characters, setting, and events. And I'm just going to go back and put the standard numbers there. So this one was RL 1, grade 1, reading for literature, standard 7. And then this one, I'm going to go back up to my retelling. I'm pretty sure it's the first one. No. Second one. So 1 RL.2. So grade 1, reading for literature, number 2. So I'm just noting where, what standards she was focusing on in this lesson. So then if you remember, that talks about the objective or standard that the teacher was meeting. Now let's talk about how the standard was met. So the standard was met You see, I'm just kind of summarizing what happened. The standard was met through an individual reading conference. During the conference, teacher first listened to the student read, and then began discussing the book with the student. The student did a retell for the teacher. And so I would just go on and just describe what was going on in the conference. So then the impact of learning from this conference, because the third essentially question that you need to answer is, how did this impact students' learning? Included the teacher assessing the student and as the student was actively engaged in reading and discussing story. So you can see that I am essentially just going through and summarizing them, my learning impact statements, and then your final thing that you would write on, and of course this is not a finished version of this. I have not watched the whole video yet, so I'm just going to kind of leave it at that, but I just wanted to show you how I would start out each question. And then the final thing that you need to write, in my future teaching, I would like to try, and then you fill in the blank from this observation because. So you're just going to describe how you would apply what you learned in your future teaching or in your future classroom. So you can see you're summarizing what's going on here. So that is the observation protocol in a nutshell. What I want for you to do for your assignment is to go through and carry out that observation on that video. Summarize what you're learning from your observation, and then you will submit your observation to D2L. And as I pointed out earlier, this is the same process you're going to use to observe classes during your field experience. However, instead of typing it, and you obviously can't pause, I would recommend a clipboard. You're just going to be jotting things down, and you can formalize it when you get back to your computer and summarize it and pop it in the Dropbox for me. So really your assignment for today is to finish up this observation protocol and turn it into D2L by class time on Monday. Shoot me an email if you guys have any questions. I'd be happy to answer them. And I hope you all have a great weekend. And on Monday, we'll dive into learning how to do running records, which is one of the first things that you will do after observing in your field experience with your students. So have a great day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.